Right back at it for North Carolina. Massive game with Louisville tonight. Gonna have to dig deep yet again with no Caleb Wilson.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's up? It's Monday, February 23rd, 2026. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast. It's the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch to get this Monday going the right way. Special shout out to our everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by Mazda, who puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, but putting in the work, that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights later in the show from this week's Moving the Game Forward moment. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Oh, it is a good Monday to be together. Carolina won over the weekend on Saturday over Syracuse. Henri Veesaar back. That was great news. And because we've got a game, another one again tonight, we're just going to dive right into that, and we're going to let the live postcast from that Syracuse game stand alone. But I got good news for you right out of the gate before I even tell you what's coming up on the show today. I was at a wedding Sunday night, some really good friends from church, a girl that interned for me years ago. But here's the great news. Like, I live in Missouri. I don't live in North Carolina, but here's what happened. One of the songs they played was Duke's like Cascada song, whatever that thing is. Every time we touch, I get that thing, you know. And I put a hex on the Blue Devils, and I put some good juju on the Tar Heels, so it's all fixed. We're gonna be in good shape tonight. You're welcome. Let's rock. Okay, coming up on the show today, with this quick turnaround for the Louisville game, Carolina must defend the Smith Center well. No Caleb Wilson again. Hopefully Henri Veesaar. But, man, lessons learned from the NC State game are going to be critical tonight. We will have the Four Corners preview for this game. We're going to get to know Louisville a little better because this is the only time in the regular season the Tar Heels will play them, and they haven't played them since like the second ACC game of last season. So it's been a minute. We'll get to our weekend whip around. A couple things about the game tonight. RJ Davis's jersey honoring ceremony was supposed to be tonight, but due to there's like crazy weather up in the Northeast. And so because of that, they're postponing this moment. We will be live tonight after the game, as we always are. Make sure to tune in for that. And then even later tonight, after things, we're going to do a live college basketball squad show. It'll be myself, Andy Patton, several other great hosts. So if you're into national college hoops, man, we'd love to see you come hang out with us there as well. All right, let's get right into this thing. And, oh, by the way, prayers to everyone in Mexico. This is a crazy situation down there. Been praying fervently throughout Sunday for people down in Mexico that all would get, man, it sounds like it's crazy down there right now. So prayers going out to you guys. Okay. North Carolina has now played 3 games without Caleb Wilson. The win over Pittsburgh last Saturday, the loss at NC State last Tuesday, and then the win at Syracuse on Saturday. And now Carolina comes back home to where they haven't lost this season. I don't know if you're aware of that. Carolina undefeated in the Smith Center. And with due respect to both Pitt and Syracuse, neither of those games factor in much. The one that does factor in to tonight's game for me is the NC State game, and here's why. Carolina, Coach Davis said after that game, we were not tough enough. We were not good enough. All the reporting has told us that Caleb Wilson laid into the team in the locker room basically after that game. And what the Tar Heels have to do tonight as they get ready to play a team that can do a similar thing of just blitzing you from beyond the arc that NC State does, between that and the toughness that Carolina learned they've got to play with, we're going to find out tonight if they learned anything from that NC State game. How tough can Carolina be? How great can the crowd be, by the way? And if you missed it, there's a stripe out tonight. So you got to be ready for that. If you're going to the game, make sure you know if you're in a blue or a white section because you don't want to mess that up. Man, but how tough can Carolina be? That's a question we've asked a lot lately, and that's one that I need to know tonight. because last year Carolina wasn't tough enough for Louisville in that early ACC game. There have been some games this season where Carolina hasn't been tough enough. In the NC State game last week, Carolina wasn't tough enough. But you know what was tough enough? Zaden High on Saturday going to defend his guy. When, what was it, Jarin that got blitzed? I can't even remember now. I'm just getting worked up thinking about it, though. Is Zaden High came immediately to the rescue. Not to the rescue, but to defend his player. And I loved it. I know some people were probably like, they're jawing and they shouldn't. No, you got to take care of your dudes and don't let other guys get into them. That's the kind of fight and toughness that I want to see tonight. And so the great news from Saturday is that Carolina got Henri Veesaar back. Would love both he and Caleb to be back in the lineup. Absolutely, especially for this game against Louisville. But I'll take even one of them. So please, Henri Veesaar, let your body be right. And we'll actually talk more about that in the Four Corners preview. But perhaps equally as importantly as Henri being back is that as Zaden High transitioned back to the bench after starting those two games, the confidence gained from those moments was clear and evident as he played his best game as a reserve ever for the Tar Heels. 1 point shy of a second straight double-double. Was active, got like the play of the game for me, aside from the Henri Veesaar dunk out on the wing, was Zaden High getting possession of a basketball over right in front of the Carolina bench, just going and rip it. Like, that is the level of get on the floorness that Carolina has to play with game in and game out. And look, the thing is, I want to know if he can continue to, like, assuming Henri plays tonight, can Zayden do that again? Can he continue off the bench to contribute at a high level? Because over the past 3 games, the games that Caleb has been out, there has been a Tar Heel big man that's averaged, what were the numbers? Because I put it down on paper and I want to remember it. Over the last 3 games, there is a Tar Heel big man who's averaged 12.3 points and 9.3 rebounds, and his name is Zaden High. That is crazy. Rewind 2 weeks. Rewind 5 weeks. Rewind a year. Rewind 2 years. Never in a million years would you have guessed that Zaden High would be doing this over the course of any stretch of Carolina basketball, but he is. And the question now, he did it in a bench role against Syracuse. Now, can he do it tonight in a bench role against one of the top teams in the conference? We're watching for that. And look, inevitably, when Caleb Wilson returns, Zayden's numbers are going to go down, inevitably. But with what he's shown in these 3 games, maybe they don't go down as much as they otherwise would have. And oh, by the way, perhaps the biggest win is because of what Zayden is showing right now. Neither Caleb nor Henri have to play as many minutes as they typically would have because of what he's doing. And so it is incumbent on Zaden High to lock in on whatever it is he's found right now and keep doing it. Game in and game out the rest of the way. 4 regular season games left. And here's what's crazy, oh, by the way, about those remaining games. The Tar Heel, this is kind of similar to what the football team in the month of November, they never left North Carolina. Same thing's happening right now for the Tar Heels. Until they go somewhere for the NCAA tournament, they will not play a game out of the state of North Carolina. They've got the next 3 games are all at home. That's this game tonight, Louisville, Virginia Tech Saturday, and Clemson next Tuesday. And then they go to Durham to play Duke, but that's still in the state of North Carolina. And then the ACC tournament's in Charlotte. So again, until they play on either the Thursday or Friday of the NCAA tournament, which they will do, no play-in game this year, no missing the tournament this year. They will be playing in the first round and hopefully have like a 5-6 next to their name. That would be great. But that's all going to be based on what happens these 2 weeks. You got to lock in. That's what I'm talking about. You got to lock in. You got to be ready to go tonight against Louisville. And this is a team we'll talk about in a second that has a possibility of just ending you very quickly. And so here you go. You're playing a team that you're tied with in the conference standings. Carolina, Louisville tied at 6th. It's the only matchup between the two of them, so it's a critical tie-breaking scenario. And as a reminder, Carolina doesn't hold a lot of those over the teams in the top of the ACC right now. They hold the tiebreaker over Virginia. They hold it over Duke, although obviously they got to play Duke again. But they're on the wrong side of the tiebreaker of Miami, NC State, and SMU, and they don't play any of those teams again. So you need this one with Louisville. And oh, by the way, you need the one with Clemson next week on Tuesday, because those are the two teams bracketing Carolina. Clemson a half game above the Tar Heels and Louisville tied with the Tar Heels. You've got to get this game. Got to. Are you tough enough? I need to know, and I want to see Zaden High do it again. Four Corners preview time for us. Speaking of Henri Veesaar, how on earth is his body going to react to playing on Saturday? We'll look at that and the rest of the Four Corners preview coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Indeed, workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, your inbox is overflowing, and the one position you need to fill on your staff is still sitting there open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire and you don't have time to do it, it's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs, who helps you reach the people that actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I'm going to be talking to you, companies just like yours will make 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed's global data. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, that's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Great news. Listeners to Locked on Tar Heels are going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on Locked on Tar Heels. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? That's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Thanks for making Locked on Tar Heels your first listener watch of the day. Thanks for making the Locked on Network the #1 sports podcast network out there. If you haven't already done so, go check out our brand new Everydayer Club. You get ad-free versions, one-on-one texting with me, special all-access episodes of Locked on Tar Heels, and more. Go to lockedontarheels.supercast.com or check it out. That link's in the show notes as well. Four Corners preview. Let's get after it. Number 1. Henri Veesaar returns to action on Saturday. And it wasn't like, sometimes I feel like I'll see this on the ESPN ticker a lot of times. Like, Golden State has cleared Steph Curry to return to action. He'll be in the lineup on Saturday, whatever it is. There wasn't any of that kind of lead up where you knew Henri was going to play. You knew he was good to go. Insert him into the starting lineup and let him just cook. He was questionable, I think, was the official original designation on Friday. Then he was true game time decision on Saturday and announced, in the 30 minutes or so before the game that he would indeed not only be playing, but starting. And as you well know, he did very well, led the team with 19 points and did it on 26 minutes. My question and what I'm watching for tonight is, how does his body respond to his first game action? Does it respond very well and he's ready to continue ramping up and getting 30, 32 minutes tonight? Is his mobility the same as it was Saturday when it looked really good? We talked about that dunk earlier. That looked just fine. Thank you very much, Henri Veesaar. You're in. Let's go. But you know how sometimes it goes when you're working back from injury. You do something and it's not the later that day or even the next day. Sometimes it's the day after, which is today, Monday, where you're like, oh, that doesn't feel as good as I thought it was going to feel. I need to lay low today. I'm hoping that's not what's happening to Henri and that his body's responding very well and he's going to be ready to go tonight. He's going to be in action and a critical need for the Tar Heels. Number 2 in our Four Corners preview. The rest of these are going to be all about Louisville. First, you need to know that if Pat Kelsey's team gets hot from deep, it's over. You'll recall, probably you saw it, I think it was 2 weeks ago now on Big Monday. I can't remember when it was, but Louisville and NC State played. And it was one of those nights for Louisville where they just absolutely bludgeoned NC State. And a lot of it was from beyond the arc, and a lot of it was Mikel Brown Jr., who we'll talk about soon. But here's what you need to know about Louisville from beyond the arc. They are third in the nation in three-point attempts, 32.6 a game. That's their average, 32, closer to 33 threes attempted a game. Comparatively, I'm always like, I'd really like Carolina to be in the 15 to 20 range. They're going to bomb away. So you got to be ready. You can go. They've watched all the action. They know how it works. They know how they have to defend these handoffs and everything else Louisville's got to throw at them. They just got to go execute. The coaching staff will have prepared the Tar Heels for how to handle it, and now the dudes got to go out and handle it well. They're going to make some shots in your face. That's basketball. But it cannot be because of poor scheming or poor execution of scheme or poor communication. The guys got to be ready, because it ain't just about their third in attempts. They're also fourth in makes, which makes sense when you're taking as many as they are. But Louisville averages 11.8 made threes a game. Can you get it down to 8 or 9? That'd be a huge win. And sometimes also you look at it and it's like, well, that's a high volume. You must not be great at it. Well, they are 36.1%, which is 66th in the nation in 3-point percentage. And look, that number isn't, top 10, top 25, whatever. But when you're shooting it as many times as they are, and you're making it at an over 35% clip, that's going to be more than enough to ratchet that effective field goal percentage way up, which it is if you want to go look at it. So Carolina has to defend the 3-point line well. But that plays right into Four Corners preview point number 3. But you focus on doing so at your own peril. Here's why. Louisville is 14th in the nation in 2-point field goal percentage. So it's not just, hey, we chuck up a bunch of threes, we make a bunch of threes, and we do it at a high volume. It's also, we are 14th in the nation in 2-point field goal percentage at 60.1%. And so it's like, pick your poison. You're going to defend the lane, you're going to defend the three, but it's hard to do both really well. And Louisville is good at both. Now, here's though where I remind you that Carolina right now is 11th in the nation in 2-point field goal percentage defense, allowing just 45.5%. So these two teams are essentially 15% off, or 14.5% off from one another in 2-point field goal percentage, Louisville's offense compared to Carolina's defense. Something's got to give, boys and girls. This is another strength on strength moment. And basically what you're looking at, the halfway point of all that would be like 52.5 or so. Can Carolina keep Louisville to 50% or worse from 2? And I know that 50% sounds like a good number. It is, but it's still less than what they average. And it would be a great number for Carolina to get to hold them 10 percentage points under their season average. Love it. I can totally live with that. But again, you see, you got to pick your poison a little bit, because they're great from 2, even though they don't shoot a bunch of them. That's what's weird. Louisville is bottom 10 in the country in percentage of their total points that come from 2. Befuddles me. Number 4 in our Four Corners preview. It's not just those couple things. There is a lot that Louisville does really well, and Carolina is going to have to be ready for it. I mentioned their 3-point shooting and 2-point shooting. Well, all of that combines to mean they're going to get a lot of points. They score an average of 86.8 points a game. That's 14th in the nation. Both Mikel Brown Jr. and Ryan Conwell average over 18 points a game. Your 2 leading scorers are there, and they essentially have 5 scorers that are in double digits. The 5th is 9-9 or whatever, right? So you get it. Free throw percentage, they're 18th in the nation, 77.9%. Rebounding, they get 39.4 a game, which is 33rd in the nation. Defensive rebounding specifically, they get 27.8 a game, which is 17th in the nation. Louisville doesn't have many chinks in the armor, but Carolina has to find them and exploit them at an NBA relentlessness of over and over and over again until they figure out if they can stop it. And if they can't, you do it till the cows come home. And if they do, you just counter and do something else. But Carolina has to find a chink in this strong Louisville armor and go attack that. Part of their struggles when they were struggling was the fact that Mikel Brown Jr. was out for a period of time. He is not now. and he is balling. So Carolina has to slow him down. All right, speaking of Mikel Brown Jr., I want us to get to know Louisville a little bit better, what makes them tick, all of that kind of stuff. What's their record look like? Do they have strong wins? And I'll give you my prediction for the game as well, plus the weekend whip around, all coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Mazda, y'all, this is Mazda's moving the game forward moment. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on screen. And today, that moving the game forward has got to be Henri Veesaar. Without the combo, the duo, the front court giants of Caleb Wilson and the guy I like to call the big Estonian, Henri Veesaar, Carolina's in a world of hurt. Now they've got one of those duo back, and boy, do they desperately need it. Henri Veesaar contributed on Saturday by, just scoring the most points on the team, 19, and had 3 blocks, affected a multitude of other shots. And so what's clear and obvious is that Henri Veesaar helps Carolina move the game forward with just his mere presence. Need that again tonight. That reminds me that these moments, they bring to us what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court. It's dialing in every detail, that extra fire, that grit, that I never quit mentality. Mazda puts that same passion into every model. Highlights make the reel, but what it took to get there is what makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. This episode's also brought to you by FanDuel. You guys, you ever thought about wanting to go to the NBA Finals like live in person? Well, great news. FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream now into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. You use your profit boost on any NBA future, anything, and you'll be automatically entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole enchilada, baby. And if you're already looking at the board and thinking, who can make a deep run, who can win a conference championship, this is the perfect time to lock in, man. Why? Because it's going to add excitement to everything down the stretch of the season. Your pick could actually cash money, but right now with what we're talking about, the third layer, you might win a trip for 2 to the NBA Finals, and that's crazy, courtesy of FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Check it out. We got lines for this game tonight. Louisville right now is favored by 2.5 points over Carolina, but you can use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win the NBA trip to the finals. Great stuff. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Let's dive into Louisville a little more, then we'll look at the weekend whip around as well. Nice solid weekend for the Tar Heels. This game tonight, Monday, February 23rd, Carolina's second and last time on ESPN's Big Monday of the year. This will obviously be at the Smith Center when it's the Big Monday. The ACC game typically tips it off first, so this will be at 7 p.m. on ESPN. FanDuel has the line, I just said it, but Louisville minus 2.5. But listen to this, at KenPom, Louisville favored by 1, at Torvik, Carolina favored by 1. And suddenly we love Torvik, right? You guys, basically meaning it's a toss-up game. Tougher team wins. First team to the ball on the floor wins. Those kind of plays. All-time series record, Carolina leads 20-8. I mentioned it earlier, but Louisville won last year, but the Tar Heels had won 5 in a row prior to that. Louisville's coach, Pat Kelsey, he's in his second season. He's done a marvelous job, really resurrected the program after the just debacle of the Kenny Payne era. Really like Pat Kelsey, and man, he's tough to play against. The Cards were picked second in the ACC preseason poll. As I've already told you, though, now they are tied for 6th with the Tar Heels. So a critical win for both programs here. Obviously, Tar Heels, we want to come out on top of this thing. Right now, Louisville 13th in the net. That means this is a quad 1 game. They are Louisville 15th at KenPom, 14th at Torvik, 13th in offensive efficiency at KenPom, 15th at Torvik, and then 28 and 25 at those 2 spots in defensive efficiency as well. So pretty sure in all of that. Louisville so far record-wise is 20-7 overall, 9-5 in ACC play. They're 3-5 on the road, so kind of similar there to the Tar Heels. But here's what's odd to me about Louisville's resume. As I look at everything they've done, there's no games that are like, wow, that's a great win for the Cards. Here's what I mean. Their best non-con wins are at home against Kentucky, neutral against Cincinnati, neutral against Indiana, and home to Baylor. Their non-con losses are at Arkansas and at Tennessee, both understandable there. Their ACC wins at Cal versus BC, at Pitt versus Virginia Tech versus SMU versus Notre Dame, and then at Wake. But their ACC losses at Stanford versus Duke versus Virginia, at Duke, at SMU. So it kind of feels like Louisville has lost to teams that mostly they should have lost to because they're better than, but maybe should have won at Stanford, maybe should have won at SMU. Several teams have fallen prey to those, though. So their best win is Kentucky at home, I think, ? He says. And so that's the odd thing for Louisville. And now they're on the road again, where again they're 3-5. So I don't know what to make of what's going to happen. Their regular starters, Mikel Brown Jr. at the 1. He's a 6'5", 190-pound freshman guard. They got some size in the backcourt. I'm telling you right now, going to be interesting to see how the Tar Heels decide to match up. Isaac McNeely at the 2. He and Ryan Conwell are basically interchangeable between 2 and 3, shooting guard, power forward. They just play that small kind of lineup. Both guys are 6'4", but Conwell has 215 pounds to McNeely's 195. McNeely is more the true shooter of the two of them, but Conwell, man, does it in a multitude of ways. He and Mikel Brown Jr. both average over 18 points a game, and that obviously leads the Cards, and so watch out for those guys. And then in the front court, obviously the backcourt is where Louisville thrives, but don't miss their front court either. Javon Hadley and Sananda Frew are the starters at 6'7" and 6'11". Coming off the bench, then, you've got Adrian Woolley at 6'4". He's a 200-pound shooting guard. Kenai Ruth's 6'10", 215-pound power forward sophomore. Ali Khalifa, who came over from BYU, didn't go with Mark Pope to Kentucky, but went to Louisville, funny enough. He was redshirting last year, so Carolina didn't face him. So Khalifa, 7'0", 250 off the bench. Kobe Rogers usually gets a few minutes as well. He's 6'3", 185-pound guard. So there you go. That's the personnel. My prediction for this thing, when it all comes together, a little bit lower than what both Carolina and Louisville average, because I don't think Carolina is going to try to run quite as much as maybe Louisville would want to. I'm going to go Carolina 78-75 in this thing, and hopefully that holds up, because it would be great to get a big win for the Tar Heels. Let's go to the weekend whip around, where it was very successful for women's basketball. We already talked about their overtime, I almost said Old Testament, their overtime win at Virginia Tech on Thursday. And then they followed it up on Sunday with a 78-50, 28-point win over Pitt at home. I was a little odd for a little bit. They kind of played with their food, that whole expression, but they ended up winning, obviously, very comfortably by 28. Now 23-6 overall, 12-4 in ACC play. Now, here's what you need to know. Carolina has just 2 regular season ACC games left. At Virginia on Thursday, hosting Duke on Sunday. Right now, Carolina is in sole possession of third place, but State, Syracuse, and Virginia all are lurking just 1 game back of the Tar Heels. Obviously, Carolina, as I said, going to Virginia Saturday, and then they host Duke. So you go 0-2 this week, you could easily drop out of that top 4 spot because of what other teams are doing. Don't allow that to happen, ladies. Great stuff you got going. Tennis teams. The women's tennis team wins again twice over the weekend, 12-1 overall, now 2-0 in ACC play, which they opened this weekend. The ladies blanked Syracuse on Friday and Boston College on Sunday. Enough said there. Men's tennis lost at Illinois 4-1 on Sunday afternoon, fall to 7-3. Baseball had an interesting weekend. On Friday night, they blitzed ECU at ECU 10-0 in 8 innings. Saturday, Folger Boaz just didn't ever really look all that sharp and got beat up a little bit. Carolina loses at the DBAP 10-3 to ECU. So now the rubber match yesterday, Sunday at the Bosch. That's great news. This game, there was rain going on. It was tied 5-5 at the end of the 5th inning, and everybody, after hours, it was miserable of a rain delay. Finally, everyone called it quits, and no postponement or anything. So that's just going to be a 5-5 tie in the record book. So here you go. Softball, another wildly successful weekend. They're currently 14-0 wins over the weekend. We'd already talked about NC Central, but now Rider and App State and Princeton as well. 11-1, 5-3, and 5-2. Wrestling, they lost on Friday against Stanford, 6-28. Bummer there. Lacrosse, great weekend for both lacrosse teams. The men are now 4-0. They're third in the nation. You know the women are going to be absolute juggernauts this season, but the men are right there too. They played or hosted Johns Hopkins on Friday. Johns Hopkins, who was very good, of course. Carolina beats them 17-9. That ain't very close. That's a nice nearly doubling up of your opponent. On the women's side, they are now 4-0, 2-0, ranked first in the nation. Friday, they beat Ohio State 22-9. And listen to this score. And maybe this is a good omen for tonight. On Sunday, they beat Louisville 24-3 in lacrosse. That is insanity. Let's move to gymnastics, who was at Cal, number 17 Cal on Friday, for a great opportunity. And they fall 500ths of a point shy of beating Cal. Dang it. So close. Swimming and diving, the ACC championships wrapped up this weekend in Atlanta. Women finished 7th, men 8th. Nice effort there from the teams. Fencing ACC championships were this weekend in Durham. Women finished 4th and the men in a tie for 3rd. As a reminder, track and field, there was an event going on up at South Bend at Notre Dame and another just over in Winston-Salem. If you want to know more about that, you can look into it, of course, as well. All right, you guys, great to be together today here on a Monday. Get ready for this critical Louisville game tonight. Gotta have it. You guys gotta have it. We will be live post-game to unpack everything about it and how it went and all the results and all of that. If you haven't subscribed to the show on YouTube and your favorite audio podcast platform already, do it now so you don't miss a second of our show. If you want to tap in with us live tonight, hit that bell notification and you'll get a push notification when we go live. You just tap right in. If you haven't subscribed to the Everydayers Club, the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to see you in both of those places as well. Y'all, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. How about, by the way, I forgot to mention, how about the gold medal hockey match on Sunday morning? Oh my goodness. America team, way to go. All right, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel and an American. Apologies to those of you who are listening who are not Americans, because I know you're not celebrating that like I am and my American compatriots are. And so apologies to you. But apologies to no one else. Until tonight when we talk again. Peace.